Amnesia: The Dark Descent by Frictional Games is arguably one of the most influential horror games of all time. If you somehow don't recognize the name, you've surely seen the countless YouTube reactions, because it basically pioneered that genre of content back in 2010. Flash forward to 2023, and Amnesia: The Bunker was released as the fourth entry in the series, and it just might be the best since the original. Right off the bat, it begins with an interesting premise. You play as Henry Clement, a French soldier during the First World War who heads out into the trenches in order to find his missing friend. Eventually, you locate him lying in a massive crater, and during your attempt to drag him to safety, an artillery blast knocks you unconscious. You then awake in the titular bunker, with amnesia of course, and the terrors begin as you try to figure out what is going on. You discover that some of the soldiers fled the bunker because of something they uncovered, and being the wimps that they are, blew shut the main entrance on the way out. Your main goal is to just find dynamite and a fuse and blast your way out the front door. This time around, compared to their past games, the bunker is more of a free area to explore, letting you tackle the objectives in any order you see fit, as opposed to a more structured story. I think this works both for and against the game. As I'll get more into, this helps create such a more dynamic and reactive experience, but it hampers the way that the story's told. It's always fun to pick up little excerpts about what the soldiers were doing and what drama was going on, but since you can find these in any order, it's harder to tell one straight moving plot. And so I think it suffers in that department compared to the previous entries. Where it doesn't falter, though, is in the gameplay. Frictional's previous work, while amazing, followed the same structure. You would be playing as a defenseless protagonist, solving puzzles and progressing his story while hiding and crouching past those lurking in the dark. This time around, though, it's the World War I equivalent of Alien Isolation. You're being stalked by one central creature who reacts to your every action across the bunker, and you have to utilize the tools you are given to get around. This takes the form of a pistol that you get sparse ammunition for, bottles you can throw, or grenades that can hurt the monster and blow open doors, on top of the usual peeking around corners and hiding in closets. It is without a doubt their most advanced in terms of the gameplay. It also maintains their signature mouse interaction system, where you have to physically pull at doors and levers to interact with them. There is this generator system that supplies light to the bunker, and it needs to be refueled manually, otherwise the power turns off and the monster has an easier time getting at you. At first I thought this would be a massive pain, but at least on the normal difficulty, there was so much fuel lying around that it never really became a problem. It's just a minor annoyance as you have to run back every time it empties to put more in, and so while it's recommended to take care of this, it's not a requirement. You do have a Resident Evil style safe room that acts as your home base, with a map of the bunker highlighting your objectives, an item box to store things you find, and down the back stairs you have the generator. This gives the game almost a roguelike feeling, and I don't say that in a negative way, as it creates this gameplay loop where you're making a series of runs to explore new parts of the bunker, returning to map out the next path, and then setting out again after replenishing your equipment. This change of formula is a real treat, and it makes it so much fun to explore the bunker in a way that previous titles didn't capture, because now all the nooks and crannies of the world are filled with valuable resources that reward you for the exploration and peeking through everything. The monster itself works very similar to the xenomorph from Alien Isolation in that it's dynamically patrolling the game world and responding to the things that happen in real time. You can constantly hear it crawling through the ceiling above you and in the walls, and popping out through holes scattered all over the bunker. It's horrifying when you know that it isn't scripted, and if you hear it in the wall to your right, it's actually there, and if you make too much noise, it could very well decide to come out and kill you. Or it just might not. The worst is when sometimes it chooses not to jump out, but you can see its breath seeping out of its spawn points, meaning it's waiting to jump you if you walk past. My only gripe with the AI is that it feels like it can see a little too well in the dark. Even if I was crouched in a corner in complete darkness, it could potentially charge me from a mile away. This leaves hiding as the best option, but it can be frustrating if it spots you before even having a chance to move, especially since it always leads to a fast one-hit kill death. I don't think the previous games had this problem. The bunker itself is absolutely drenched in atmosphere, and it's one of my favorite horror settings in recent times. I am partial to the Gothic castle from the Dark Descent, but everything here is cranked up to 11. Because the bunker is situated in the middle of an active battlefield, as you creak through the claustrophobic corridors, the walls and ceilings will occasionally get rattled by loud artillery, raining down plaster from above. At the same time, you'll be hearing the echoes of the beasts pacing through nearby hallways and clawing through furniture looking to find you, and it makes for one of the most unnerving, intense experiences I can think of. And that's from a seasoned horror fan who doesn't scare easily. It's absolutely relentless, and you barely get a single second to catch your breath outside of the administration room. And even that's not 100% safe. I do want to talk about story spoilers for a moment because it's tied to my biggest problem with this game. Through the notes, you learn that in effort to expand the bunker, the French blasted their way into an old underground Roman ruin. It turns out that when your friend got injured, he drank water from the crater he was lying in, which was actually ancient monster liquid that seeped out of these ruins. It causes him to mutate into the beast while you're knocked out, and inciting the mess you find yourself in when you wake up. In every past game, your character having amnesia is central to the plot of the story. In some of the notes, Henry comments on regretting the terrible thing he had done, and I was excited to learn more about what happened while he was unconscious or what dark secret his character was hiding. It turns out this twist is just that Henry cheated at cards, which caused his friend to lose a bet and forced him out on the patrol that he ends up going missing on. He feels bad about it, and that's kind of it. It's reasonable for Henry to feel guilty, but that being the big amnesia moment is pretty boring, especially when you compare it to what Daniel learns in The Dark Descent.
Don't take anyone before they are ready.
Understood.
Sounds from the torture chambers are shuttled in through those pipes in the ceiling. Manage your victims well, and let one prisoner's pain instill terror in his cellmate.
You do finally blow open the exit, which leads down into the ruins from the notes, prompting a final fight with the beast in a big antechamber before getting to make your escape. There are a couple ways you can deal with the final fight. Either distracting him with his daughter's toy, which is a cool detail given what we know, and then pulling boxes up to the exit, or shooting at the bridges he walks on and making him fall to his death. Regardless of what you choose, you escape the bunker only to hear the whistles of nearby Germans, indicating that Henry most likely gets captured. If the beast survives, there's an extra little segment where you see it escape into the world as well. While not utterly satisfying, it does wrap up Henry's story nicely with a dash of commentary to work with about the human monsters residing on the outside. Amnesia the Bunker feels a bit like reading a great short story. It took me about 5.5 hours to complete and manages to tell a decent self-contained tale, but one that I wish had a little more meat on its bones. The tremendous sound and level design of the bunker paired with the pulse-pounding moment-to-moment gameplay create one of the most well-realized horror locations I've set foot in recent times. While feeling a bit like a demo, it is well worth experiencing if you like this sort of thing, and I hope that Frictional Games use this template to build on for whatever they do next, because it's a perfect evolution of their style and I think so much more can be done with it. And yeah, screw the beast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.